Hello YouTube, it's Harry from HTL Finance and welcome back to yet another video. In this little video series I'm doing on Trading212, I thought I would continue the trend, and today we'll be talking about Trading212's pies feature. In Trading212's verbance and parlage, a pie is essentially a portfolio, and what we're doing today is showing you how to create your own, how to mirror and view other people's, and then some other key benefits that this allows, because it's through this method on Trading212 you can automate your investments, which is a very key and important thing that even personally, I've been using Trading212 nearly a year. I didn't realise was actually possible until recently finding this out through doing some research. So when you're in the Trading212 app, obviously you have your home page, and this is within my investors account. If you click onto view your portfolio, which is the pie chart icon on the top, if you then click investments in the bottom left is where this is stored under, you then see it says quick start with a pie. In my opinion, the pie feature of Trading212, while it's not unique to the platform, is a really good thing that people can use, that I think is really under advertised by Trading212, and that even in the app itself isn't really made overly clear or put to the forefront within the app. And I think a lot of people, because of it, miss it, especially that this is where the auto invest feature is also stored. So if I click on quick start with a pie, if I just go back a second, what it does say is choose a ready-made portfolio, automate deposits. Again, I think that's relatively vague, but then again you can see select a new pie. So it gives you models, which it has a few from Wisdom Tree, which is a provider of ETFs that I do use, and I think everyone gets given the same setup. But these are, not overly useful. These are the sort of default ones, which if you click on, it does give you the considerations. Just ready-made pies offer solely data on allocations, should not be regarded as investment advice. And in that vein, neither of this is video investment advice. This is just me hopefully providing some information on the investing platforms that exist. You should carefully review all holdings allocation targets. Allocation targets will not change without your explicit consent, and consent in this is a key thing. That if you do follow someone else's pie when they change their allocations, because in some of these things, these aren't managed by you, what Trading212 does do is give you a button to accept or reject, so your portfolio doesn't massively change without you knowing, which is especially key when you have FX fees and other things that, other fees that when you're actually making adjustments to the portfolio will actually cost you, let alone just things changing without you knowing. It says this is not, your pies will not rebalance automatically, which is again a follow on from that point. You decide when to initiate rebalancing, and what rebalancing is pretty much just holding different percentages, and the percentages change of what is in your portfolio, which is something you may want to do as part of your overall portfolio or your pie. This is not a portfolio management service. You bear responsibility, which is I think self-explanatory. And then there are some further things which I won't read all of this. And at the bottom it says your capital is at risk, which is very true. I think the model pies are fine. I wouldn't recommend potentially using these. Maybe these fit exactly what you want, but I think why most people are looking at using this is for the community pies and to create your own. So you click on community, wait for this to load. What you have is new pies, which again, do your research on all of these. What you are essentially doing is viewing someone else's portfolio. That may be a person with a lot of knowledge on investing or very little knowledge of investing. You don't know. So obviously do your research and do your due diligence on any of these. And you can also view the top ones. And while I think there are obviously risks with doing this, it is a very useful thing. It is interesting to see what people put within their portfolios, and also I think really what is popular, what other people are looking at. And I think looking at things like this is something that can provide good information for you to make investment decisions yourself. So what we have here is almost daily dividends. Obviously, people have put someone's put a portfolio together, a lot of dividend stocks or ETFs, UK income, things like War Ready, Own the World in 50 Stocks. There's a lot. And what you see in the bottom left is the amount of views that it's had, so 3.2 million, and the amount of comments, 145k in this example. And the number on the right is the amount of people that have used this pie. So you would assume, based on this top one, 143,000 people, that you'd think that this is, in theory, a good option to go with, just because of the amount of people that are backing it. Obviously, that may not be true or may not hold true, but that is an assumption we can make. But if you click on it, you can actually click on the name beneath it and see what the person is saying, who created the pie, which is always quite interesting. And if you click on the right, the little arrow to the right, you can see the pie. So it gives you the top holdings. So you can see Microsoft, Apple. There is a few others. We've got obviously Coke, MasterCard, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's. And then this is what they say. They've got a YouTube video, which is really good. Trading212 is really good at allowing people to set up things like this and to put their own content in. I know some of these pies are set up by other YouTubers, and this is sometimes why some pies can have a lot of views because of a YouTuber, which again, do your research as to what that means. And yeah, you can obviously read the comments there, and it gives you the AAR, which is the average annual return, which is, it says here, is the weighted average of the 5-year annualized return of each of its slices. So we've obviously got these options. What this is a really good way of doing is a way of achieving really quick diversification, and potentially diversification with a certain theme or a certain goal that aligns with what you were looking for. So what this can be viewed as, in a way, is a pseudo investment management service, but the difference is that this is not necessarily run by a professional or someone who knows what they're doing, or you'd hope know what they're doing. This could literally be anyone. So obviously bear that in mind. I think really the most interesting thing though is when you click on custom in the on the far right, which says build your pie, pick your favorite stocks and ETFs. They will appear as slices in your pie, and each slice is just a separate holding that you have. So if I click on add instruments, what this does is it takes me to the normal page that we see in Trading212. We can see everything. Say in this example, I want the Vanguard S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US, and is already very highly diversified, but perhaps we want to further that diversification even further with potentially, let's say, the FTSE All World, which these two alone, FTSE All World is highly US dependent and has a lot of US exposure anyway. So perhaps these aren't the necessarily the best pairing, but let's just go with it for this video. And then let's just let's do something else from Investco, the Nasdaq 100, which is more tech focused. So your pie appears at the bottom. You can then click next. And what this does do is then gives you your average annual return, which is a very loose terminology. This is the same thing as what I said before. It's saying over a 5-year period, it works out the average, but obviously, previous returns are no guide for future returns. It gives you the minimum investment, which is just quoting is £1 as the minimum investment that you can buy through Trading212 as a fractional share. So then this is the interesting thing here. So if I click on the little I, each holding in the pie represents an individual stock or ETF. And you can target weight percentages of each holding. So the important thing is with this, what the benefit is that while you could do this yourself, you could do the calculations and invest, to get these sorts of splits. If you have something in mind, this could easily be a bond equity weighting, you might want 60% in equities, and you could do 60-40 through this. This is a really good way of removing the thought or some of the admin work out of investing. And the other thing that I think personally is really good is through doing this and through setting up the auto invest, what it means is that it becomes more set and forget. I know for me personally, I probably check my investments too much. Given that I'm more a long-term investor, it's best that I just put the money in and really just begin to forget about it and just know that over time, you'd hope the markets increase and that I'll get returned that way. What this does is mean that I don't have to go in weekly, monthly, daily and really make any changes. As long as there's money in the account, it will invest and in the desired splits that you want. So say in this example, I want 50% for the S&P, say, then it's telling me that I'm over 100%, and maybe we want to reduce the FTSE All World to as low as 17, and then this is my pie. So if I click next, now this is the important thing, which I've obviously just discussed, but auto invest as you'd set an investment schedule or the manual route. And for this, really, I would think that auto invest is best for most people. Obviously, you may want it manually. It really depends on, for example, when you have certain cash flows, or if you want to try and time investments. If you, for example, swing trade or focus on timing investments manually is better, or you'd probably want to do things and pick individual stocks and trade them manually. But I think the pies feature are for people that want to set and forget and just want to take a long-term approach to investing. I think most people doing this will want the auto invest route. And it says at the bottom the FX fee that Trading212 has, which is quite low but still exists. So I'm going to click on auto invest, and then this gives you a value projection, which I really wouldn't read into all that much. Trading212 is leaning heavily into the sort of set and forget, really hands-off long-term investment approach here, where you can see after 5 years, it's saying if I put in 60k, I'll have 91k after 5 years, which is fine. And then you can do your distribution, which is the percentage weightings is or self-balancing. More funds will be added to underweight instruments and less to overweight instruments, and by targets. The funds will be split according to the pie target values you set, which I think is what most people would probably opt for. What self-balancing does is if a particular stock or holding is doing well or badly, and the percentage weightings will obviously be constantly changing. If, say, the FTSE All World does really well and then becomes worth more than 17%, what it will do is add less to bring it down, which is good in a way, but I think the targets is probably better, I would think, and I would assume, but just because it's harder to track the way that self-balancing works. So let's say I want buy targets. I want an initial deposit of, for this example, let's just do £1. And then in the monthly recurring, you do daily, weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, every 2 months, or every 6 months. I think most people will be looking at probably doing weekly or monthly, maybe monthly depending on when you're paid, and automating it that way, especially if you automate a bank transfer into Trading212. And I would think that weekly as a good way of dollar cost averaging into a portfolio, which for people who aren't familiar with that term is basically the thinking that if you invest in routine intervals, what you will do is over time you will buy the stock at a high price, but you'll also buy a stock at a low price. And what that means is that you have less volatility. So for example, if you bought £1 of something every day, as opposed to putting £30 in at once, that £30 could be very overpriced day or underpriced day, dollar cost averaging, and this routine approach just smooths that out. But let's just say I want weekly, and one thing that I know I've seen people complain about on Trading212's pies feature is that if you do daily, it treats it as Monday to Sunday. The markets are only open Monday to Friday, so it's not the best way of daily investing. It leads to sort of strange doubling ups, and that you have larger amounts put in on a Monday, but that's a small thing that hopefully they can improve in future. But just say I want it daily, for example, and then I'll just put another pound just as an example. And then we have the amount of years at the bottom, which is purely there just to do your projection at the top. The pies are very flexible. You don't have to keep a pie going into eternity, or you're not held accountable to match the amount of years. It's just for the projection. So I'm going to do 1 year just as an example. I'm just setting everything to the minimums. I'm going to give it a name. Let's just call it HTL. Let's just give it that. I'm just going to give it the full YouTube channel name. Let's just call it HTL. And then you're ready to go, and then you can fund the pie. So then it tells us we're ready to go, and we can fund the pie. It's given us goals, which are very loose projections at this stage, but let's just go fund pie. And then what we want to do is click on free funds, unless you want to keep investing into this and do it by a separate method. Usually, I think most people will have probably some free funds sat in their Trading212 getting the 4.9 interest, percent interest. There's another video on that if any of you haven't seen it, and then you can click free funds. So here we go. It then gives the initial deposit and future deposits £1. Schedule standing order, that's fine. I've already covered that, and then we click confirm. And here it is. Here is the pie. So the way it actually appears in Trading212 is slightly different. So it's shown as separate from your other separate holdings. You get an overview, which is really nice, that it consolidates the overall view, and the returns, which is good. You get your goal, which is something that you've set, and you're also able to change. Your auto invest, which you're able to amend. You can change the schedule, change the amounts, change the payment method, and it will reflect in your in the goals and the projections that it's giving you. And you can also make it public for sharing at the bottom, which we've already seen what other people's look like. But I really think for most people, the best way of doing this is to do your research yourself, work out what you like and don't like, and then use the pies feature as a way of separating in Trading212 whatever thought or whatever specific strategy you're going for, and to use it as a way of automating your investment. I think that is the really key thing here. What you can also do is invest more into it. Say you don't want to follow the £1 a day that I've set, or if you have a bonus, you can do that. For example, if you come into money, you can also withdraw, and then it gives you your holdings, which you can, edit to your heart's content, and it will manage the process of this, which I think is the other thing that's really good with this, is this does make it more straightforward. You don't have to go and buy each specific assets. You don't have to go and set market limits or anything. It really, really simplifies it. And I think this is very beginner focused, but I think really something that most people should probably be using, unless you day trade or are in very sort of short-term focus. If you're in for the long haul, I think this is a really good option. So this is definitely going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I think there was quite a bit to cover in regards to the pies feature on Trading212. But I think it's something that I think people don't actually are maybe as aware of as they should be. So hence me making this video. But if there are any questions on Trading212, this feature or generally, or anything really investing, or you have any comments, feedback, questions, future wants for videos to come in future, please let me know. But thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.